Hello and welcome to Let's Code Physics. It is Fun Friday. On Fridays in Season 2, we're going to kick back a little bit, work on some fun projects, a little bit less serious tone. And for the first such project, we're going to be returning to the very roots of Let's Code Physics. So I originally thought about starting this channel when I was watching my brother's Let's Play FTL videos. It was summer of 2015. I was new to FTL. I wanted to play it. I'd heard a lot of good things about it. It seemed like the type of game that I should enjoy playing, but for whatever reason, I just could not figure out how to actually play it. I knew I was supposed to click on my weapons and then on the enemy ship, but the whole idea of timing the weapons and when to do upgrades and when to hold on to scrap and everything just sort of eluded me. And so I watched my brother's Let's Play videos and learned to play the game by watching him. And so that became the idea for Let's Code Physics, would be if somebody wanted to learn to program physics simulations, they could watch me do it in a sort of interactive, commentary, jokey sort of way. And also learn to have a little bit of fun with it. So what I want to do for this first Fun Friday project is go back to the roots and work on a code to help somebody that wants to play FTL in a pretty recurring problem involving some of the geometry of the game, which is the beam weaponry. So if you've not played the game, one of the types of weapons you can use on your ship is the one over on the left side, is a beam weapon. The way a beam weapon works is that it's going to slice across the enemy ship. It's going to slice a path in such a way that you typically want to hit the most number of rooms. There's some exceptions to that, which we'll get into in a couple minutes. But what you do is you tell the beam what path you want it to take across the ship. For example, this beam goes from the lower corner here up to the middle here, or maybe the other way around, I forget, because this is a still shot, not the animation. And beams can do different things. Most of them damage rooms. This one is what's called a fire beam, where it's trying to light fires in the ship. It's done a very good job on this ship. The crew is about to asphyxiate in that picture. But the way you aim the beam, like I said, is you send it across the ship, and typically you're trying to hit as many rooms as possible. In some cases, for example, with a fire beam, you might want to hit as many tiles as possible. For the hull beam does twice as much damage to systemless rooms, so that's a room without the little icon inside. So for a hull beam, you're trying to maximize damage, not the number of rooms. But it's an interesting geometry problem because you get to pick the point where the beam starts, you get to pick the direction that it goes in, and each beam weapon has a different length to it. So this is a geometry problem. It's sort of a physics problem. I mean, in physics, we like to think that everything is a physics problem. But most importantly, it's something that I'm interested in. It's something that I think that would be of interest to some of our viewers. And so what I'm going to do is create a code that helps you maximize the beam trajectory for an FTL battle. And so the first thing that the user of this beam optimizer will need to do is create the shape of the enemy ship that they're battling. I've gone ahead and set that up. This code is largely based on the sample codes about mouse clicking and dragging found at the vpython.org site. This is sort of my first foray into graphical user interfaces using vpython. Usually it's all set up in the code and then I click launch and it goes. But I've set up this interface here where the user can create the ship that they're fighting. So the ships are composed of rooms, and all the rooms are either 2x2 squares, or 1x2, or 2x1. So they're either these nice little square rooms or these 2x1 or 1x2 rectangles. And basically what you do is on the sample rooms over here, you click on one of them and it creates a copy of it. And I put a red border around each of the rooms so that you can still see where the rooms connect. That way it's not all one sea of gray out there. So you might click and drag these around to create various ship configurations. And so, like I said, you just click, you drag them around, and it's set for them to all sort of configure to all snap to the grid here because the rooms need to be aligned properly in order for the geometry to work out. I've got it to where if you pull it off from the grid a little bit, it'll snap into place, which is really cool. Excuse me one second. Good girl, Pumpkin. Yes, ma'am, you're very strong. So, for example, if I wanted to create the pirate ship here that we've been looking at, I would need a 2x2 for this systemless room here. I'd need a 1x2 connecting here. Another, 2x1. I need a 2x1 connecting here. 1x2 in here. Then I need to add the piloting room up top. So that would go here. And then I would need a final 1x2, the flat one down here at the bottom. So all the rest of the artwork and everything around here doesn't really matter. It's really the arrangement of the rooms that matters. And so here I've got the 2x2, the flat one, the 2x2, the flat one, and the tall one, the tall one. Cool. So I have recreated this pirate investigator here in my beam optimizer. And the second thing you would do would be to click on the red ball here to change what it is that you're trying to do in the code. So usually you're trying to maximize the number of rooms hit, but let's say you had the fire beam instead. You're trying to start fire on the other ship. It has the potential to start a fire on every tile that's hit. That's these smaller squares in the grid. So here the code would be trying to maximize the number of tiles hit. Let's suppose you're in another situation where you say, I really need to hit their weapons. I cannot take another pounding from their weapons. I've got to take the weapon system down. So for example, in the pirate ship here, the weapons are off to the side here. So with this option, you would tell the code that you definitely want to hit the side room here. So it's only going to consider beam geometries that strike this room. Or you might have a hull beam, in which case you need to tell the code that you've got a systemless room here, and so it's going to try to maximize the damage, taking into account the fact that systemless rooms count as 2 times the damage. So this is a really neat interface. It's been pretty easy to create thanks to these sample codes. Basically what we do is create a few functions, and again this is coming from the vpython.org site. So we have to define a function that occurs whenever you grab something, meaning whenever you are clicking and holding on it. And basically if the thing that you pick, so the EVT here is the event, it's the thing that you pick, basically if that's the option button, then it's going to cycle through the 4 options for the option button. I'm using the modulus command here. Modulus is just the remainder. So you divide one thing by another, you take the remainder. That way it cycles from 1 through 4. Actually, it's cycling from 1 through 0, I found out. So I put the 4 or the 0 just in case it makes the number 4, or 0. And then if it picks the sample room, so the room 2.2, room 2.1, and room 1.2 are the sample rooms over here. If it picks If you click on any of those, then it specifies the position and size for a new room to create. So it's adding to the room list a new room with the position and size that you specified. And so that's these new white rooms over here. And it adds that to a list called room list. So all of these rooms, all these rooms that you have that make up the ship are included in room list. That's going to be important later when we create the optimization routine, because it needs to be able to cycle through all of the rooms and check whether they've been hit. And then in order to create the frames, I tried looking for a way to add a border to a shape. Turns out I have to add it manually by just basically creating a curve, by creating a box or a 2D box to go around it. And so that's where this all comes in. And basically the frame just gets dragged along with the room. If the event that gets picked is one of the rooms, then it drags it, meaning it's going to move. It's going to use this move command here to take the room and the frame along to wherever the wherever the cursor drags to. And then of course at the end when you release the mouse button, it has to release it, has to drop the room off, and that's where it snaps it to the grid. That's where it's using this round function. So I had to define a rounding function that takes the location of each of the rooms and snaps it to the appropriate place on the grid. And basically it's going through the 4 different possible cases here. It's saying, well, if the thing is 2 units wide, then you need to snap it a certain way. If it's 1 unit wide, you need to snap it another way, and then it does the same thing with the Y here. And basically all that does is it means that if I place the thing in the middle here, it's going to snap one way. If I place it closer to a corner, it's going to, well, of course, every time I try to explain it, it goes to the wrong corner. Here it's snapping to the right corner. Here it's snapping again to the right corner. That's unfortunate. Here it should be snapping to the left corner. Okay, there it snapped to the left corner. Sometimes my opinion of where half is and its opinion of where half is are different. Oh, you know what? I wonder if it has to do with the fact that I'm not clicking in the center of the block. I wonder if that has to do with it. Anyway, I'm going to keep troubleshooting that. It's still snapping a little bit strangely sometimes, but the important thing is it's snapping to the grid. So that way it's aligned the same way that the rooms are aligned in the game. And then, of course, it has to adjust the frames as well. Now, what I want to do in this video is I've introduced you to it. I need to start adding in more features to the interface. One feature I need to add is the ability to delete a room. Let's say, for example, I had successfully created this ship and then I accidentally added another room. Well, in the code, I can't really tell it, hey, ignore this room over here. It's going to be searching when it tries to orient the beam. It's going to be orienting it through all the rooms. So I suppose one way you could do it would be to move the rooms you don't want over to here. That one snapped funny too. It's always when I'm not looking for it. Anyway, I'll keep troubleshooting that. Or if you've got a suggestion for how to fix the snapping issue there, let me know in the comments. That's even better. I want to be able to delete a room, just so that way, you know, it's not going to be searching through a room that shouldn't really be there. So what I'm going to do in this episode is add a room deleter. So let's see. So we have already created a button for cycling through this option. Let's also add in a button for deletion. So let's call this del button, meaning of the button. No, meaning delete button. So we're going to copy this down to here, and let's see. The option button was red. Let's make the delete button. Oh, let's make it yellow. Why not? We'll make the delete button yellow. So this is the delete button. Obviously, it cannot be in the same position as the option button. So let's make the delete button. Let's actually put it. Actually, let's put it in the lower left-hand corner, so that way we don't accidentally you know, click on it instead of the option button. So I should be able to run the code now, and a new button will appear. Okay, cool. So we've got the new button here. I haven't programmed in what to do if I ever click on it. All I've done is add the button in there, but it's nice to know that I can add the thing and it won't do anything amiss with it. And then let's give it a label here, just so that we know what it does. We'll call this del label, meaning of the label. And let's see here. We're going to put this thing down to the same y coordinate as del button. And we're going to say here, click to delete room. And this little label thing, this is just adding text somewhere in the window. So click to delete room. Okay, cool. So now what I have to do is I have to tell the code what to do if somebody clicks on del button. So just like I've got here, if event.pick equals op.button, then we're going to say if event.pick equals del button, right? So that's what we're looking at now. We're looking at if the thing that was picked was the delete button. Then we want to go into basically we need to create a new function. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to copy the scene.bind command. Let's see here. Actually, what I care about is this mouse up, because that's where you release the click. Copy. And we're going to say, yeah, that's what I want to do. Scene.bind mouse up drop. No, then I want to say scene.bind. I want to bind the mouse down, because the mouse down is is what happens when you click. So I want that to be mouse down. Cool. So now now it's changing the, so now what it's doing is it's changing the function of clicking from being grab to being not drop, to being delete. Actually, let's call it room delete. Just so that way we're specific, we don't step on any toes with any built-in functions. And so what I have to do now is I have to define a new function called room delete. So we're going to say def room delete of event. Cool. And so what we're going to look at now is we're going to look at what we want to do is be able to delete a room. And so what we're going to do is we're going to say if the event.pick equals, and now we need to be cycling through the various rooms in the list. So we're going to say I equals 1. We're going to say while I is less than or equal to the number of rooms, just so that way it's checking for all the rooms in the room list. If event.pick equals, what am I calling my room list? I'm calling it room list. Good to know. Room list of I. Then we need to do a few things. We need to make this thing invisible, and for that I'm going to reference the instructions at vpython.org. Okay, so I just say the thing.visible equals false. Thank you, vpython.org. You are helping me immensely today. I should probably contact them, see if they want to sponsor this channel or something. I'm sure they've got, I'm sure they've got money to throw around for random internet sponsorships, right? So if event.pick equals room list of I, then what we want to do is we want to make the thing invisible. So we're going to say room list of I.visible, visible, not visable, visible, equals false. And then there's this thing where after you make an object name something invisible, you can delete it immediately with del this. So then we're going to say del room list of I. Actually, I should be saving this under a different name, since I'm making so many changes to it with grid, end frames, and deletion. There we go. Del room list.I, delete, so delete room list.I. But see what that's going to do is that's going to leave a gap in the list. And so when I go to cycle through the list later, it's going to encounter a gap. It's not going to know what to do with. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say while j is, actually let's do j equals I plus 1. While j is less than or equal to number of rooms, what we're going to do is we're just going to remove every item that's in that list down 1. And so what we're going to do is we're going to say room list of j. Oh, actually, let's make this I. There we go. And let's make this less than the number of rooms. There we go. Room list of j is equal to room list of j plus 1. So what's happened is, let's say I've got 5 rooms in the list, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's say I delete the second one, right? So I've deleted room list of 2, right? So I've deleted item 2. I want to move item 3 into item 2, so that gets rid of this one. I want to move item 4 into slot 3, so that gets rid of this one. And I want to move item 5 into slot 4, so that gets rid of this one. So that brings each one down 1. Which is what I'm doing here. And then I need to take the number of rooms and subtract 1 because I've gotten rid of that top one. So in rooms equals in rooms minus 1. Let's see here. This is all under almost missed the thing I always miss, which is moving the incrementer forward. I equals I plus 1. Cool. So that is now saying that this thing will delete a room. And then I need to return the function for MouseDown. So I need to return the scene.bind. Basically, scene.bind is saying, here is what I want you to do in the scene if somebody does this thing. And we want to change that back to grab. That should be the original scene.bind MouseDown equals grab. Scene.bind MouseDown is grab. Okay, so if I've done this correctly, then now whenever I click on the delete button, and then on a room, it should get rid of the room. Let's find out. Okay. Moment of truth. All right, I've clicked on this. Let's see. Del button is not defined. How is del button not defined? Oh, because I misspelled button as button. Y'all have been staring at that for the last 10 minutes, haven't you? So let's try that again. Click. Okay, let's see if clicking and dragging works. Okay, clicking and dragging is still the same. I click on this thing, nothing changes. Cool. All right, let's add some more rooms. We're going to add some more rooms. We're just going to add lots and lots of rooms. And now we're going to pretend, uh-oh, I did not mean to add, let's say, this one. All right, so this is the bad room. This is the room we're going to try to get rid of. So we're going to say click to delete a room. Click. All right, I don't see any error messages yet. Let's click on this one. Did not go away. Uh-oh, and now it's not responding. What did I do? Okay, so let's see here. While I is less than or equal to number of rooms, right? If event.pick equals room list of I, and I am incrementing I, not inside here, okay? Room list of I dot visible equals false, del room list I, j equals I, while j is less than room list of j. Should be working. Thinks that's not responding. So, when in doubt, add in some print statements. So we are going to, now whenever this thing, whenever we click and this thing does room delete, actually let's do this. Print MouseDown is now room delete. Just to confirm that when we click on del button. And so now room delete here is now associated with MouseDown. So every time it does MouseDown, it should do this. Let's see here. Let's have this thing tell me print I'm in room, oops, can't use an apostrophe. I'm in room delete, exclamation mark, because that's a sign of success. And then we're going to say print checking for room, comma, I. There we go, save. So it's now going to tell me what it's doing. So let's run the code. Cool. All right, I'm clicking a bunch of rooms. I'm creating some rooms. Let's just go ahead and add a bunch of these. And let's say this is again the room that I want to delete. So let's see, when I click on this, okay, so it's constantly checking for room. Okay, what happens when I do this? Oh, because I see it is constantly checking for room. Why is it constantly? It should only be doing that when I click on something. Okay, so that explains why it's not responding. Let's get rid of that. Yes, I want to kill it. Do I need to do something with mouse up? Because here when I grab something, defines mouse down as grab, and under grab, it's redefining mouse down. Mouse move, mouse up. Okay. Oh, I think I need to do a scene.unbind. Let's try that. Let's try a scene.unbind of mouse down. Comma grab F5. We're going to make a few rooms. Okay, mouse down is now room delete. So let's see what happens when I click on one of these. Ooh, it went away. Cool. I forgot to have to delete the frame. I need to do the same thing to the frame list. And I get an error here. What is the error? Okay, index list out of range. Okay, we can fix that because it's still looping. I had thought in the back of my mind that this would happen. Because this thing is still looping, it's now checking for something that is no longer there, right? And so I need to... Okay, yeah, I can fix that. The first thing I'm going to do, though, is also do the same thing with the list, with the frame list. So I need to, basically, everything I do to the room list, I have to do to the frame list. Frame list visible. Same thing here, delete room list, delete frame list. And then do the same thing here. Increment the room list. Increment, oops, the frame list. Oh, the other thing I have to do is I need to, let's see, I think at that point I could do a return actually. Because once it's done this, if event.pick equals room list divide, there's no need to check the other rooms. So I think what I could do here, let's do this. Let's do a scene.unbind MouseDown, comma, room delete. And let's do a scene.bind MouseDown grab. Copy. Here's the reason I'm doing it that way. There we go, MouseDown grab. I want to put in a return statement here, and that'll make it exit the function, I think. Let's see if that works. If I understand how all these work, how all the function terminology works, I should be fine. All right, let's delete this one now, because I want to do something in the middle of the list. Let's get a whole bunch of these out. Okay, so let's do a delete. MouseDown is now room delete, and we're going to delete this one. Okay, it took away both of those. That is good. I'm in room delete, checking for room 1, checking for room 2. It is still having a problem at line 114. Okay, so the problem actually wasn't there at all. The problem's in line 114. Okay, if it, well, in it, okay, I probably just have an issue with this being in rooms. I probably need it to be less than in rooms, not less than or equal to in rooms. Just because of the way it does the list numbering. We are getting into the half-hour mark here, so I will wrap this up shortly. Let's get rid of the print statements because room delete I think is working fine. Now let's actually do one thing. Global in rooms equals in rooms minus 1. I should have that in rooms as global everywhere. Global just means it's moving it into everything. Okay, cool. Global in rooms, yeah. Yeah, that was line 114. Page up. Okay. Yeah, so the issue is occurring here in grab, actually. Define in rooms, global in rooms. Okay. So let's go ahead and make that a less than. I'll make a note out here. Less than or equal to. Because I think that should fix that problem. So let's create a bunch of these. And now it's not letting me drag. Uh-oh. Oh, it's not letting me drag because that was the latest one created, right? So no, that does have to be less than or equal to, not less than. There we go. Let's see here. Let's try this again. It might be an issue with me, you know, sort of doing the unbind and the bind. Maybe I only need to do an unbind. We'll find out. And let's say that's the one I'll delete. Let's create a whole bunch of rooms here. Okay, cool. So MouseDown is now room delete. We're going to delete this one. Okay. Right, so checking for these rooms. So it's thrown me an error. Let's see, can I still move these? Okay, so, oh dear, it is stuck in room delete. Okay, it did not unbind the room delete like I thought it would. Scene unbind, scene bind. Okay, I'm going to give this a few more minutes, or I might cut or something. Let's see. Oh, I don't think I need that anymore. Actually, whenever it unbinds, does it rebind? Seem to unbind? It never rebinds that. Let's actually, it never, how many times does it use scene.bind? All right, that's me. That's the one I wrote. Scene.bind, mouse move. It never, let's see here. Mouse down does, okay, yeah, that's the thing I added. Mouse move, mouse up is going to be drop. Okay, so when it goes into drop, it does unbind them. So it actually unbinds them at the very beginning there. Okay, so let's try moving the unbind up here. Paste. Let's try moving that there. Just so that way it does that right away. It shouldn't make a difference, but maybe it does. Scene.bind, mouse down, grab. Oh yeah, and then I need to redo that there regardless. Okay, let's try that one more time. Click, click, and drag. Click, click, and drag. That would be the one we delete. Click, click, and drag. Click, click, and drag. Look, it's an equal sign. Look, it's a super equal sign, the equivalent sign. All right, click item to mouse down is now room delete. Click that. Okay, so it does delete it. Okay, it's no longer deleting these, so that's good, but it's spitting out a bunch of, it's still spitting out this issue. Oh, and that was the, was that the last one, I guess? I didn't keep track. So let's create a bunch of these, and let's have, oh yeah, because now whenever I click anywhere, it's throwing an issue. Let's have this one be the designated last one, and we're just going to delete sort of a random one. Oh, and now it didn't delete anything. So I found the problem. The problem is that, it's not really a problem, I found the issue. The issue is that I did not realize just how intelligent Python is. When I do this deletion in this list, Python goes ahead and removes the item from the list and shifts them down. So this shifting down business that I was doing down here, that I was doing manually, Python already does. Watch. Here's how I figured this out. Is that I noticed that the number of rooms was staying the same, was staying fine, but the length of the room list was decreasing by 1 because I had in rooms length of room list, and that was giving me, say, a 3 and a 4. But then when I do that down here, it gives me a 3 and a 3. So I had it print the contents of the list, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you're looking at the objects. But remember, the initial item in the list is 0. Then I added 3 rooms. But when I have it print, sorry for flicking back and forth like that. I'm so excited to figure this out. This is so cool. So I have it print room list right here. So right after deleted, it's going to print the room list. So here's deleted, and then it prints the room list. So here it's gone from having a 0 and 3 objects, having a 0 and 2 objects. Python is already taking care of the thing that I thought needed to be taken care of. So really all I need to do is do these deleteds. I'm going to leave the print statements in for right now. I don't need to do any of this. So I'm going to hash that out now. Oops. Excuse me. I don't need to do any of this part. So I'm going to hash that out now. I'm going to leave it in just in case I'm wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure Python is already taking care of this for me. And then I've got the scene bind, mouse down, grab. I also moved the, I don't know if I showed you this before, but I also moved the scene.unbind to the top. Now I've got scene.bind here back at the bottom. Let's see if this works, if Python is already doing this for me. Now I am going to change the in rooms, although that means I can just keep, I don't have to use a separate variable. I can just keep using length of room list. This is awesome. All right, let's give it a try. See if this works. All right, I am creating a bunch of rooms. Let's delete that room, the second one. So I've now created 1, 2, 3, 4. So it should go from 4 to 3. Click to delete room. Mouse down is now room delete. I'm going to delete this one. Number of rooms equals 4, 5, meaning there's 4 rooms, 5 items in the list because I always have a 0 at the beginning. In rooms equals 3, 4. No error messages. Oh, it doesn't know what to do when I click that. So I was cleaning up a little bit. I actually moved I removed this last scene.bind. I think maybe they were doubling up and that was causing a problem. So it's much cleaner now. I got rid of that unnecessary stuff. I've also changed the text of the delete label next to the button. So now you're going along, you're clicking rooms, you're creating rooms. You suddenly realize that you don't need one of these 2x2s. So you decide you want to delete this one. You click on the, actually let's make sure I don't get any error messages now that I'm recording. The Python knows when I'm recording, I'm telling you. I click on the yellow button and now it tells you click room to delete so that you know you're in deleting mode. I click on here, it goes back to click to delete room. Everything goes back to normal. I am rearranging rooms here. Everything is fine. We are snapping to the grid and all. I can even click and create, etc., etc. I can go back, I can delete, and it all runs smoothly. So we are ready to build some ships now. What I'm going to do between now and next Friday is add in the options about selecting specific rooms, identifying systemless rooms, etc. So that is the last addendum. I promise I'm really going this time. Thank you very much for watching this long and segmented episode. I will see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.